Stunned witnesses gather on the bridge. A news cameraman takes this footage just minutes later. The entire 737, bar the tail section, has disappeared. Joe and Nikki have made it to this island of wreckage, along with 4 other survivors. One is the young mother, Priscilla Tirado. Another is flight attendant Kelly Duncan. The water is just 1 degree above freezing. The human body can only survive in these conditions for about 30 minutes.
It hurts to be that cold. It feels like knives in you to be that cold.
The emergency services arrive minutes later, but their inflatable boats can't get through the ice. It's a devastating blow for Kelly.
I really felt like I was kind of just losing hope, thinking, this is really going to be the way I'm going to die. I just didn't feel like I was ready to die.
The survivors have escaped a plane crash. But now, they'll freeze to death unless rescuers reach them within minutes. 4:06 p.m. The U.S. Park Police helicopter unit in Anacostia Park, 2.5 kilometers from the crash site.
Park Police Aviation, Officer Gailey. It's the tower. They're reporting a missing aircraft, 14th Street Bridge.
Pilot Don Usher is a combat-hardened Vietnam veteran. He springs into action with paramedic Gene Windsor. They know visibility is appalling. And Eagle One, their Bell Jet Ranger helicopter, isn't designed for heavy rescue work. But they're determined to help.
We did what we were supposed to do, what we were trained to do, and what the public expected us to do.
4:10 p.m. 28-year-old Lenny Skutnik arrives at the crash scene. Lenny spotted the commotion while driving home from his office job in the center of Washington. He's unnerved by what he finds.
When it got down on the riverbank, it was kind of an eerie feeling. It was snowing, and you know that quiet when it snows, and someone screaming for help out in the river. Made the hair stand up in the back of your head.
Eagle One is almost flying blind. Don is forced to scan the ground for roads which he knows lead to the 14th Street Bridge.
The only visibility we possessed was looking through the chin bubble, what would be called slant visibility.
Gene ties together makeshift lifelines. Their limbs are numb. They can no longer move their hands. They're giving up hope. And then they hear Eagle One approaching.
I suddenly felt the whomp, whomp of a helicopter. And then the Park Police helicopter came into view. The relief I felt at that point is unimaginable.
I have never heard such a beautiful thing as the day that I heard that helicopter.
Don spots the survivors clinging to the tail section of Flight 90.
We realized as soon as we looked at them that every second counted between life and death to get them out of that river.
The first survivor Eagle One rescues is 41-year-old Bert Hamilton. Gene then throws one of his improvised lifelines to flight attendant Kelly Duncan.
I just remember looking up into the sky and just seeing a rope hanging down from it. And I just pulled it around my back, and they pulled me out.
Don and Gene now try to speed up the rescue by dropping 2 ropes. Joe Stiley grabs one of them and wraps an arm around Priscilla Tirado, the other. Nikki Felch, Joe's secretary, grabs the other rope. But to Joe's horror, she's too badly injured to hold on.
It was the worst feeling because if there's any one person I'm going to try to help first, it would be Nikki, and I can't.
Seconds later, Joe loses hold of Priscilla.
I didn't realize it at the time, but all the fingers in my left hand were already broken, and my arm was broken.
Eagle One drags Joe to safety. The crew know Nikki will be kept afloat by her life jacket. Priscilla is their immediate priority. After 30 minutes in the freezing water, her chances of survival are on a knife edge. Lenny Skutnik is horrified as he watches from the shoreline.
She was close enough where you could see the expression on her face, and her eyes just looked wild, and she looked like she was going into shock then.
Time and again, Priscilla slips from the life ring. Traumatized, exhausted, and temporarily blinded by aviation fuel, she begins to drown. Lenny realizes he can watch no more.
It was just too much to take. I absolutely thought she was going to die if I didn't go in and get her.
He jumps into the freezing water and drags Priscilla to safety.
I believe it's a human instinct. I didn't weigh it or think about it, I just did it.
Eagle One now returns to Nikki. The crew respond with their most audacious rescue so far. Jean steps onto the skid, grabs Nikki, and wrestles her to safety. "4:35 p.m. The rescue is over. The sixth person clinging to the wreckage, whose hand is seen here, has disappeared. He's later identified as Arland Williams, a 46-year-old bank examiner. 74 passengers and crew on board the 737 are dead. 5 people survived the tragedy. But only just.
I had a skull fracture. My nose was broken. My cheeks were broken. My jaw was broken. All my fingers and thumb on my left hand were broken. My right leg was fractured. My left leg was shattered. Both feet were broken. Other than that, I was fine. Oh, and I had a hypothermia.
News of the disaster is broadcast around the world.
Some of the victims died on impact, most drowned in the icy waters of the Potomac River.
At the time of the disaster, Bill Hendricks was the National Transportation Safety Board's Chief of Air Accident Investigation. He's a former U.S. Navy pilot with more than 20 years' experience as an air crash investigator. January 13th, 1982. News of the disaster reaches Hendricks just after 4 p.m.
Hi, Bill Hendricks.
It's one of the most important calls of his career.
I knew there'd be a lot of pressure on this investigation. It's here in Washington, D.C. A lot of congressional interest, a lot of media interest. It's the capital of the United States.
I'll get back to you.
The investigators reach the 14th Street Bridge later that evening. The crushed cars tell them Flight 90 came down steeply.
It hit onto the 4 or 5 vehicles and flattened them out like a pancake up down to their rims before it plunged into the water.
This is all they know for sure. The question is, what triggered the disaster? There are many possibilities, from catastrophic mechanical failure to pilot error, even sabotage. But the snowstorm is the most obvious suspect.
It was just a gut feeling that somehow this weather had something to do with it.
But Hendricks knows this cannot be the whole story. Dozens of other aircraft took off from the same airport on the same day without a hitch. Whatever happened to Flight 90 must have been unique. It's a mystery, and solving it is going to be tough.